Thousands of messages shared in a group chat of young Republicans is revealing some racist thoughts that they even worried about being leaked. Well, those exchanges have been leaked.
Extremely anti-Semitic and racist comments. They referred to black people as monkeys or the watermelon people.
Oh my God, bro!
They called rape epic.
Bingo.
They talked about the love of Hitler with factions of their party or even supporting slavery.
Kyle Hitler, baby.
Why are they speaking like that to each other? And does this have anything to do with kind of the way that the norms of our political discourse have been changing, some would say, since President Trump came to power?
Shut up, faggot.
In this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns and those who dig. Broadcasting from a Montana wilderness fortress at the headwaters of the Missouri, this is Matt Christiansen Live.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is Matt Christiansen Live, a proud duct tape production for Wednesday, October 15th, 2025. Thank you for tuning in. And hey, look who's back. It's our friend Frank from Quite Frankly. QuiteFrankly.tv. Shows live weeknights, 7 Eastern. Welcome back, my friend.
Welcome back. Welcome back to all of us. It's been since July, but it's so good to see everybody. I know, much to some people's disappointment, here I am.
Well, we'll find out, I guess. Read the comments and the chat later and find out what insults are relevant. We'll catch up with Frank momentarily. And then, Frank, I know we're going to talk the horrifically racist leaked Young Republicans chat for which everyone must atone. You know, it's fine to say who's next after Charlie Kirk. It's fine for a major office candidate in Virginia to be hoping for the death of his opposition's children. Just don't say that you like Hitler in any form of jest. Later in the show, Mark Aaron will join. We'll talk another very offensive encounter with a New Mexico school board candidate who doesn't like Trump supporters. Same slurs were deployed there, this time from a person of left-wing persuasion, which was odd and funny. And I don't know if you saw, Frank, but Alec Baldwin had another terrible accident. Once again, not his fault, but it is someone's fault. He just does not know who.
You know, after all the accidents pile up, you have to take accounting. You have to say, am I the problem?
I wouldn't hold my breath with Mr. Baldwin, but we'll take calls, voicemail, emails. If you'd like to call the show live, the Discord server is linked in the description. There are instructions and help available on the server. And if you'd like to leave a voicemail, you can still get in for tonight. Call the number in the description. Check in on those in the latter half of the stream. Plus, we'll take super chats to close. But Frank, before we get into it, man, like you said, it's been since July. So just catch me up on what's going on with Quite Frankly over the last few months.
Well, I honestly, it's kind of a blur. It's been a crazy summer, and I think that we've just been holding on. I've been doing so many rebrands, and I've been just reconstituting the broadcast week, and a lot of just the changes around here. I held my first in-person jamboree over here.
Oh, that's right. How'd that
Frankly's go? Oh, it's great. We had people from all over the country that came in on the first weekend of September. I hosted quite a nice party over here on a VIP night on Friday the 5th. And then on the 6th, we had this theater down the street that was just packed full of audience members and friends and family alike. And it was just great, man, to see everything that shows like you and I are doing are starting to actually really translate into real human connections again. And I really appreciate that momentum. I love it. Of course, a couple of days after that, there was Charlie Kirk. You and I haven't spoken about that. A lot of things. The landscape has shifted quite a bit. You have gone and embraced bald head. That's wonderful. I'm happy for you there too.
I don't know if you issue cards, but
if
I
we
would
put our
like.
heads, if we put our heads down next to each other, it'll look like an ass.
Yeah. Well, that's true. We could try. Well, I got to move over this way. Yeah. You know, I don't know at what age you gave in, Frank, but I've given up. I made it to 37, and well, I didn't really make it to 37, but that was the age at which I said, "That's enough." You know, part of the break for me, and I'll be brief because I know my audience has heard it, but part of the break for me was just getting used to that. Like, okay, this is who I am now. I just want to be used to that before I'm back in front of people again. So I know it sounds kind of crazy, but it was part of the break for me.
No, yeah. No, there is a little bit of that. There is. And you know, you just got to make sure that whenever the sun is out, you go out there and get a little bit of color on that head so you don't look like a cue ball. And
I don't know that I've ever applied sunscreen to my scalp. That will be a new thing next summer.
That's it. Well, I mean, other than that, I have not had any of my private direct message groups with the with the boys. None of the boys' private groups have been leaked or compromised in any way. Thank God.
You know, Frank, we've been texting and messaging for something like 5 years now. I don't think there's even one N or Hitler reference in there. So
no,
I don't know. Maybe I'll have to get daring and give you something to leak at some point in the future.
iMessages too. I would never do it with you on an iMessage anyway. We'd have to find something a little bit more encrypted.
You go to Signal if you want the spicy chats. Yeah, not Telegram though. I guess that's the lesson they learned.
Oh, that's where it was. It was a Telegram chat.
Yeah, I believe that's what the story says. Yeah, it's Telegram.
Okay,
but you want to get into it, or did you want to talk more about? Okay, let's
talk about it.
I know you were talking about this on your stream, but this is one of the big stories of the week so far, which is the intrepid journalists at Politico, broken the scandal of the year. Apparently, some people in a Young Republicans private Telegram chat said, among other things, they love Hitler. That's the headline. I love Hitler. This, according to thousands of leaked messages obtained by Politico. Now, the chats, Frank, are from January to August this year. And generally, they follow the group's purpose of trying to move the organization, the Young Republicans organization, into a more pro-Trump direction, according to the characterization here. There's some kind of infighting going on with that organization, which is allegedly the origin of the leak. But the implicated people include, it's about a dozen various leaders of the state chapters of the Young Republicans across the country. And Young Republicans implies younger, but you think like high school, college, and there is a lot of that. But apparently the people they're talking about here range in age from 18 to 40. So there's a lot of adults too. But I assume on your show, Frank, you did a tour of what was actually said in some of these group chats, yeah?
I never actually got around to it. I told people that we would be talking about it tonight, I can just say I can save my bullets. And
got it. Okay. Well, let me walk you through some of the worst. Maybe you took a tour of it reading yourself earlier, but if people didn't see, let me walk you through some of the worst ones. Let's see. Let me find the zoo one. The zoo one's really bad. A guy said to another guy, I'd go to the zoo if I wanted to watch a monkey play ball, this referring to an NBA game. Okay. Elsewhere, the same guy referred to black people as the watermelon people. There were jokes made about gassing their opposition, something about how, again, they're trying to make political moves in this group. Everyone who votes for this or everyone who does this, hey, everyone who opposes us, they're going to the gas chamber. And there was some discussion about the gas chamber, which assuredly was dead serious. They were actually going to gas their opposition. Right. I guess is how we're supposed to read this. What were some other ones here? They were, the headline quote about Hitler is obviously in jest. Okay. They're talking about delegates or people that are going to come to this meeting. Well, the people I bring are going to be the most right-wing, or they're going to vote for the most right-wing person possible. Great. I love Hitler, says the guy who was the New York State chair at the time and one of the main characters in this story. Yes, I'm sure he literally loves Hitler, and this was not a comment made in jest at all. There was one of my personal favorites from this collection, Frank, is that there were jokes about an Indian woman He said, my friend dated a very obese Indian woman for a period of time, and the chair of the New York State Young Republicans at the time. No, she was not Indian. She just didn't bathe often. Okay. It's easy to make that mistake. There's a joke about not flying in a plane with a black chick pilot. Now here's another headline. Coming from this story. Let me find it. There's a count, Frank. How many slurs were used?
Oh no, a slur count.
Yeah, 251 times. And my thought at first, that's it? This is 8 months. 8 months, 12
that's
people.
Tame.
It's 30 slurs a month, Frank.
Those are rookie numbers, man.
It's one a day. It's not even spicy. And now this is actually one of my favorite lines in here too. I know the watermelon commentary is highly controversial. Let me find this one. They try to connect this to Trump because, of course, it was Trump who has normalized all of this sort of discussion. Why? Because comedian Tony Hinchcliffe at the Madison Square Garden Trump rally last year made a joke about black people carving watermelons for Halloween. So he clearly personally authorized the watermelon joke in the Young Republicans chat. Also, somebody said 1488 once over the course of 8 months. And then the rape one that I played there in the intro. Let me see if I can find that one. It's they were talking about the Spanish coming to America. Someone said the Spanish came to America and had sex with every single woman. Sex is gay. Also a dead serious comment, clearly. And someone said, sex? It was rape. And someone responded, epic. Clearly loves rape. Big time rape fan, this guy. Not at all in jest. But your thoughts on some of the commentary offered here?
Yeah, well, listen, I don't know. I don't even need to know who these people are. And we just kind of get it. And we laugh in nervous and kind of like tickly juvenile ways because it's just stupidity. And it is just a lovely stupidity. And I'm sure some people harbor some kind of racism in their hearts or they actually do they are prejudiced in some who at this the whole point here is who cares, because what I think everybody is starting to see now is we're up against proud racists. I think all of this is mostly in jest because we talk so stupidly. I mean, I love Hitler. I can't tell. I mean, ridiculous. I'll tell you. I'll put it this way. Some of my friends are really sick of hearing from me, and they're finally thankful that the Yankees were eliminated from playoff contention about a week ago, because all year since Cam Schlittler came up from the minor leagues and made his debut, I said, and I've seen this guy is like 6'6". He's throwing 100 miles an hour. He's got a 25-mile-an-hour differential on his curveball. I said he's going to be awesome. And all of a sudden, he is starting to come up big in big games. He shut down the Red Sox. And every week that he had pitched for the last 6 or 7 weeks or whatever, I would text people. I'd say, so how far away do you think we are from hearing a Heil Schlittler chant?
I thought it sounded like shitter. But yeah. You're speaking my language, Frank, because one of my favorite things to follow on this show is the names of athletes that sound like slurs and are going to get commentators fired. Think Luke Nigaman, Diego Fagot. Are you familiar with phenom rookie first baseman of the Oakland Athletics?
Nick Kurtz.
Yes.
You have to be careful. It's Nick pause Kurtz. Otherwise, it's
Nick Kurtz.
Dangerous. I know. And then depending on what it is, I don't know. And he actually had a really great year. But I'll say this, things like that. It's like I don't expect the Bronx, New York, to bust out with a Heil Schlittler chant in Yankee Stadium. I don't expect it. But is everybody else not thinking it? So and it's just like whatever. And then there's always some sourpuss that goes, oh, so Hitler is funny now. Like, why not? What are we gonna do?
Hitler has always been funny. The little Nicky bit of the pineapple up his ass. He's always been funny. I don't understand. Well, what I understand why people treat it serious too, but it's not as though Hitler jokes are a new sociological phenomenon.
No, the whole thing is that we have two syllables that have been turned into such a joke because of how important that is. And you can put that with the so-called N-word or anything else like that. And I just got to say, the people we are up against, we're talking about, you can call us right-wingers, conservatives. I just think about liberty-minded people who are on the outside of what statists in both parties really want to bring us to, that centralization, that kind of, those big regulators of thought and economy and everything else like that. We are up against proud racists, proud, murderous racists. They've given themselves the blessing to be outwardly and proudly racist and bake it into everything they do. There's rationalizations for every extreme thing that they say, every extreme idea that they put out there. Like you said before, who's next after Charlie Kirk goes down? They start writing lists of, like Santa Claus lists for Christmas. Who do I want to see dead next? We are seeing the world. We're seeing the world now through the guise of racism, just to be able to project what moves are coming next. Like that, this is something we have to do, even if we're not making these jokes in our private chats. We actually have to see the world through the guise of racists on the left wing, just to be able to project what moves may be coming next, and to determine the motive for everything from congressional legislation to corporate hiring practices. Like this is the world we have to live in, just to be able to understand the animals that are in opposition to everything that we do. But still, even in this state, if we indulge in off-color humor in a private chat, it's like I don't. It still doesn't make me wince. It's like it's one of those things where, okay, it wasn't my chat. If it was my chat, I would kind of be like, oh shit, I'm dealing with it. Let me just deal with this. This is going to suck for however long. I mean, you and I got on the air and we worked through your little Russia paid agent nonsense. Remember that?
Oh, I will never forget. Yeah, that was the night after the indictment dropped. I remember messaging you like, the people I was contracted with are now accused of being Russian propagandists, and I got to talk about that. So, thank you for being there for me in that particular episode of my life.
Yeah, I know, and it must have sucked for a couple of weeks. It's over now. But the ultimate point I'm saying here is that the reason why I could look at this, and we know exactly what's being said and how it's being said, but we know how serious the other side is with their willingness to want to gas people. We know from a statistical standpoint that average Democrats, we're not even talking about party leadership. We're talking about a lot of the people that live around us. During the lockdowns of 2020 and 2021, they were willing to put us into concentration camps. They were willing to take everything from us. They were willing to deny us health care for whatever the hell it was. So we know where these people put all their jokes in. It's not jokes. They have really a lot of hate in their hearts. But, we can make jokes like this. And ultimately what we fall back on is we distance ourselves from parasitic government. That is what our politics are about. We want to take ourselves outside of the influence of government and this growing army of parasitic dependents who have been taught to hate us, who have been taught to hate the host on which they're feeding. So it's not even like, okay, well, we had all these Hitler jokes that were uncovered in a private chat, and it directly relates to exactly what we want to get out of government. No, authoritarian, dictators, Hitler, Pol Pot, Mao, they wanted to be able to control every aspect of a society. Whereas we're saying, can we please dismantle government so I don't have to deal with you people anymore? Yeah. We're just asking to be away from everybody. So it's just like,
well, good luck. They don't deal in that sort of voluntary agreement. So
yeah, man,
we're going to learn that lesson the hard way someday, I fear. But to your point on not understanding humor, not acknowledging humor, now, if I asked you for a description of the reporter who published this story, I bet you could probably nail it. But the reporter on this story, his name is Jason Beeferman. Speaking of names you could crack a few jokes about. He doesn't, well, I don't know. He doesn't look particularly...
What?
I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this, but Beeferman sounds like...
Yes, you do. Yes, you do know where you're going with this.
He probably gets beefered by a man, is the best I can do. But he was on CBS reporting on this story, and he talks about two things, like not obviously the offensiveness of the comments, but then not understanding humor, and then a list of the scalps that his reporting has claimed.
Extremely anti-Semitic and racist comments. They referred to Black people as monkeys or the watermelon people. They called rape epic. They talked about the love of Hitler with factions of their party, or even supporting slavery. Why are they speaking like that to each other? And does this have anything to do with kind of the way that the norms of our political discourse have been changing, some would say, since President Trump came to power? The bulk of their statements were really apologizing and acknowledging that these messages, which they wrote, were harmful and hateful. And, there's already been, there were two people that lost their job, that they lost their job before the story even came out. And now, since its publication, we've had two other people lost their jobs. So already four people have been fired as a result of this story. And we're seeing statements from Schumer, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, and others. And we're going to really see how the fallout continues to play out on this.
Congratulations, butthead.
Why would they talk like this? Because jokes are funny. I know it's a foreign concept to you. That's why they would talk like this.
And aren't we Nazis? They've been assuring everybody that we're Nazis this entire time. Somebody says, "I love Hitler," and they're just, can you believe this? What are you talking about?
It should be a non-story insofar as it's very characteristic. You're right. But yeah, that to me, that commentary from that reporter is so telling. Number one, it's outing yourself as humorless. Edgy chat seems like such a strange concept to you. And then part of the key points about the reporting are the people who have been fired for this. And in response to that, in response to the reporting, have you seen the groveling, Frank? The groveling has begun. The statement from the Young Republicans. Now, many of the individuals featured in the story have apologized. The Young Republicans National Organization put out a statement flogging itself. That behavior is disgraceful, stands in opposition to our values. I'm sure the rabid leftists will love the Young Republicans now that they have granted all their points in terms of how awful and terrible and disgraceful this group chat is.
I know. It's crazy. It's crazy to be able to genuflect before an altar like that, and just know that you're not going to be able to. What's it going to do? Nobody cares.
They still think you're Hitler, even if you disavow the liking of Hitler. They have not changed their opinion, to your point, Frank.
Absolutely.
There is a question on who is the source, and I mentioned there's infighting at the organization. So the allegation from Peter Guinta, I don't know, it sounds like a very proud German Hitlery name, Peter Guinta. I don't know how you say his name, but I assume somewhere in Germany. He ran the state organization in New York. Now, he has some kind of rivalry dispute with the guy who was running the New York City chapter of Young Republicans. His name is Gavin Wax. And so this Guinta guy is accusing Gavin Wax of being the leaker. And Politico reached out to Gavin Wax for commentary. He didn't respond. Politico, unless I missed it, does not identify their source, but it sounds like there's somebody of allegedly conservative Republican persuasion who doesn't like, for internal political reasons. When I say political, I don't mean like national politics. I mean within the organization politics. They don't like each other, so he weaponizes the bad words in the chat to oust his opposition, is the apparent theory of this case.
Yes. Well, I mean, that's why I just don't, there's got to be some kind of a line in the sand at some point where people just, I don't know, let it be. It's one of those things where you just kind of shrug say, well, you got caught. You got caught having it's like you're in the back of the classroom. The teacher's got their back turned. You're passing notes. You're spitting spitballs. You're just doing things that you're not supposed to be doing, and it's fun because you're not supposed to be doing them. That's all part of it. There's the chance you can get caught. You're in a secret little room. You know, you whatever, and but you got caught, and it sucks, and you got to deal with it. You got to get detention, whatever. What are you going to do? Now, unfortunately, there are just ridiculously bankrupted organizations, political organizations, operations that are looking for anything to latch onto and to gain a little bit of relevancy after all these years squawking about racism and Hitler and neo-Nazis. And now they found a jokey little room, which I'll tell you, I would have to imagine that there are plenty of people, black, white, brown, purple, who looked at those and knew exactly what all that was. I bet you any money there was plenty of black people, black Americans, especially young ones, who read some of those comments, even about the watermelon eating and all that stuff, and probably had a laugh to themselves. They were ridiculous. You know, I had to. You know, I know others were probably incensed, but the other hand is like you can kind of tell. I mean, because the reason is you can just tell the energy with which any of this stuff is delivered. I mean, when people go on MSNBC and they break down why they're like white people, whiteness is a genetic deformity or something, or like when somebody goes on a radio station in New York City and talks about how white people are genetically predisposed to not having compassion and stuff like that because melanin is something that directly relates with it being more human and emotional and all that shit. Like these are things that can happen on news and happens in mainstream media forums all of the time, and it's said with seriousness. And we have to sit there and listen to that. And here's a private chat room, not a broadcast studio in the middle of New York City, syndicated across every major marketplace in the United States. It's a private chat, but they have to go kicking over rocks and busting open doors, hoping to catch somebody in the act, and then being able to project that act in the greatest way possible.
Yeah, and I want to emphasize, these are the same people who have nothing to say about the guy running for AG in Virginia, Jay Jones, who similarly had leaked texts recently in which he was hoping for the deaths of his opposition's children. And when people pushed back, saying, I don't know, I'm not really comfortable. And by the way, this is legislator to legislator conversation. I'm not really comfortable with you saying that. No, that guy's kids should die because only his pain will persuade him to change his politics. He still has endorsements. In fact, I don't think he's lost a single meaningful endorsement. He's still running for the top law enforcement official in the state of Virginia. And if people wonder what the difference is, you're outraged about Jay Jones, but not the Republican chat. I looked through all the messages they're presenting in the Republican chat. The worst you can say about it is edgy jokes and bad words, but I don't see the targeting of a particular individual. I hope that guy dies. No, just to be clear, I'm not joking. It would be good, not just that he dies, but that his innocent children are dead and he lives to see it so that he comes around to agree with my politics. There is no circumstance in which it is reasonable to be mad at the Republican chat, the young Republican chat, but this is not only fine, it's suitable to run for office in that party, significant office.
See, Matt, this is exactly what I was saying before. In this state that we are in right now, even though we know that racism is something that is packaged and sold, that is what left-wing politics is all about. It is born and is delivered through racism. And this is the way that we are forced to just see everything that they're doing. We have to understand what animals they are and how they operate, and you have to understand their racist views of the world to be able to understand their policies and their motives for everything. And as I said before, we indulge in off-color humor to kind of like break up the tension a little bit. We don't do too much. I mean, everybody's becoming a little bit more outward with it because I think that we all see the importance of having to break up the glacial divide we have here in the culture. We have to be able to say Sorry, fucking don't give a shit anymore. But like I said before, what are our worldview? What's our worldview? Our worldview, and I'm not talking about mainstream Republican centralized planners because they were the first progressive party in this country. But our main view is, how do we strip away all of the outward controls to make sure that the individual, their communities, every black, white, brown, whatever the hell it is, they have more say in how their life goes without any larger power coming in and taking their money and policing their thoughts and their speech and their businesses and all that other shit. We're looking for ways to strip away and cut cords that are binding us to each other, that should have never ever been there, that assigns victims and oppressors and those who need to be rewarded for past injustices hundreds of years ago, and those who have to just take it and all that shit. And here they are on the other side, not engaging in off-color humor, calling somebody a cracker or something like that. They actually want somebody's kids dead because they want us to follow them. And they want to keep us attached to them at the hip, because what are we? They don't really give a shit about us. They want our money. They need what's in our pockets to be able to bring their fucking worldview into being. This is how they govern. They are murderous at the very base of it all. There are going to be people at the top rungs of the ladder who are going to get all pie in the sky utopian and lovey-dovey and equitable about their language and shit like that. But they know the kind of force that is necessary to get everybody to walk in the same direction. They understand that humanity is like herding cats otherwise. They have to be murderous at the very core of things, and that's what it is.
Speaking of murderousness and unfortunate death, before I let you go, is Mom Donnie winning before I talk to you next time on November 4th?
Oh, you know what? I mean, I haven't seen any indications that he's going to lose. I've seen that there's like some bump to Cuomo or whatever the hell else, but he's still far behind. I don't know what happens on election day if the old Tammany Hall people come out there and start stuffing boxes and they say we just can't do the Mom Donnie thing right now. I don't know what happens, but right now it looks like Manhattan and Queens and Staten Island and the Bronx, they just want a quick death, I guess. I don't know.
What a sad state of affairs to be begging for Andrew Cuomo. Please. He's like Obi-Wan Kenobi in that hellhole. Please help us, Andrew Cuomo.
Please.
You're our only hope.
We'll give you another bridge.
Oh, God. Anyway, Godspeed to your state, my friend. But maybe that ship has sailed a long time ago. When you're ready to come out to the Montana ranch, you let me know. We'll be waiting for you. But that's my friend, Quite Frankly. QuiteFrankly.tv is where you find a show. Did I say you were Quite Frankly? Let me back up. That's my friend Frank. His show is Quite Frankly. Sometimes I forget how to speak. QuiteFrankly.tv is where you find the show live, 7 Eastern, weeknights. Frank, is there anything else you want to promote before you're out of here?
No, you live at weeknights on QuiteFrankly.tv and everywhere else. And thank you for everything, brother. And I can't wait for the next one.
All right, man. Well, thank you for stopping by as always. And I will catch you, I guess, probably in Mom Donnie world on the other side of it. We'll see if you survive. Until then, Godspeed. All right. There he goes, QuiteFrankly.tv for all things Quite Frankly. I'm going to go get Mark Aaron, and we're going to resume some conversation before we take some calls and some emails and some voicemails and your super chats and all that stuff. So I will be right back.
Stand back and stand by. Stand back and stand by.
Thanks again to Frank, QuiteFrankly.tv for all things Quite Frankly. My friend Mark Aaron is here from up north. Follow him on X at Liberty M. Aaron, linked in the description for you. How are you, my friend?
I'm very well, Matt. How are you?
I am doing okay. I don't know if you caught our conversation about the leaked Young Republicans chat, but if you have any thoughts on that before we close out, I welcome them.
Scandalous. I mean, Who are the Young Republicans? Is this some really important organization that is shaping the future of America? That
I don't know what their
warrants headline
official
news.
like what their official role within the party is, if anything. I know they have a membership of 15,000 or something, but yeah, it's an organization of young people seeking influence and leadership within the Republican Party, from what I gather.
Yeah, because I find that it only has the legitimacy that you give it, and as long as people on the right keep freaking out about everything like this, they have to do what the left does: ignore it, be like, I don't care.
Oh, yeah,
This is not news. Sorry.
The groveling apology is hard to take, and thankfully there was a lot of appropriate responses to the groveling apology. Let me find. I liked this one from Mostly Peaceful Memes. I think that the board of directors at the Young Republican Club should take this. I think you just need to stop being such a faggot. If you tried that, because like I was saying with Frank, it does not matter whether you do the groveling apology or whether you literally respond to the story by saying,
Shut up, faggot.
They will hate you and call you Hitler regardless. So you might as well lean in a little bit. I'm not saying you have to adopt Hitler's actual ideology or something. Just, we don't have to bend the knee and flog ourselves for edgy words and jokes in a private chat.
No, it's ridiculous. The people that hate you are going to hate you anyways. And anyone rational or reasonable is going to look at this, look at it as a hearts and minds campaign. And there are still cool kids out there who might be on the fence or in the middle who are going to look at that chat, find it hilarious, and go, okay, those are the cool guys. And that's the only people you should care about at all, and ignore everyone else because they don't matter.
Well, it's not just the Young Republicans who are vulgar in their distaste for their opposition, Mark. This is a story I saw this week that cracked me up. I hope that this woman will get the same condemnation, the same attention as the Young Republicans. Now, in New Mexico, there's a woman running for school board who just said it to her opposition's face, the same slur, the F slur, the one you can't say in the Telegram chat. Sarah MacArthur is a Democrat, from what I understand. She's running for school board in Roswell, though the position is nonpartisan. It's not like there's a Republican running against a Democrat for school board, but she is left-wing Democrat Party in her personal persuasion. So she's out campaigning, and she comes to the house of Tracy De La Rosa. And Tracy is a former Republican state rep candidate. I don't know if they have any prior knowledge of each other, but what you have here is a left-winger talking to a right-winger in the context of, please vote for me for school board. And so De La Rosa, who's the Republican homeowner, asks MacArthur, who's the Democrat campaigner for school board, hey, do you have connections to this thing called Emerge New Mexico, which is some sort of left-wing advocacy organization? According to this reporting, it's an organization that is trying to increase representation for Democrat women and non-binary leaders.
Boo.
So Democrat women. Yeah.
I guess, yeah. What's the difference between a woman and a non-binary person? I guess they're shapeshifters. They can go back and forth. But at the end of the exchange, this is really the point, is if the word is so bad, this lady deploys it willingly in public, freely. This is tolerant Democrat Sarah MacArthur calling Tracy De La Rosa a MAGA faggot. It's captured on the home security system.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
My name is Sarah MacArthur. I'm running for the school board. Oh, those are so cute.
Yeah.
I'm a veteran and I'm a former administrative law judge, so just recently retired like 5 years ago, so I have time now to be a school board. I've never been on the school board before, but I'm sure I can handle it.
Okay. All right. Do you have anything to do with the Emerge groups?
Oh, how do you know about Emerge?
Because I ran for state representative in Tracy De La Rosa.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I do. I actually sent Alicia.
Okay.
Alicia.
Check out Alicia.
That's all right then. Thank you.
This is a nonpartisan race.
I realize.
Yeah. But you're not interested in...
No, I'll vote for the moment. Thank you.
Okay.
We don't want Emerge candidates in New Mexico. But thank you.
Well, we don't want MAGA faggots either. Did you say faggots? Because I got it on camera. Good, I'm glad. See you on Facebook.
Now, I know the audio is not great, and I don't know about you, Mark, but when I first saw this, I thought, did she actually say faggot?
That's what I heard.
Okay, so you think it's clear
Enough.
Okay, because I
didn't.
thought
I wasn't skeptical about it.
I thought it was clear too, but the reason I was skeptical is because there's no way a left-wing woman who works, closely with some inclusion organization is going to go around calling someone a faggot for a momentary interaction.
Maybe she said maggot,
but she said MAGA faggots. Yeah,
MAGA maggot.
So it wasn't a confusion with MAGA. MAGA was a separate descriptor.
No, MAGA, because they call MAGA like MAGA with a T, maggot.
Yeah, maggots.
So maybe she said MAGA maggot.
That's
the only possibility is that
that's
she said
Tim
maggot,
Pool's Tim Pool's bit lately. Did you see that? Which is
no.
They can call us MAGA and use the soft A, but we claim mager. That's our word, mager.
Mager.
Anyway, to settle any debate or any doubt that that's what she said, Sarah MacArthur has actually responded in a Facebook post. And there's no denial in the Facebook post that's what she said. She says things like, I'm a human, I make mistakes. Okay, that acknowledges what was said then. You're not denying it. I'm an imperfect person and I apologize. And of course, she's victimizing herself to some degree, saying that she was met with open hostility and a person now having a field day promoting this video. Now, I know it's only about a minute there. Maybe something happened beforehand, although they seem cordial initially. So if something hostile happened to start, I don't know why it became normal after that. But what's the hostility? The hostility, she says, was, I was asked a politically motivated question.
Oh.
It's hostile.
And the answer was yes. So I guess she's the one who actually opened the thing being hostile.
Yeah, I would think that someone coming to my house for a political purpose with a political perspective, asking a politically motivated question would be directly relevant, not hostile.
You'd think. Well, I believe that the school board is supposed to be a nonpartisan position, but if you know anything about school boards, not exactly a bastion of right-wing thought.
No, hence the situation that we're in.
Yeah, exactly. This kind of like the destruction of society is school boards being overtly political.
Yeah.
And good on this woman for challenging her.
I trust that if she's elected, she will be very nonpartisan.
Oh, yeah. No politics at all.
My favorite part is the end of her statement, though. She doesn't stand for MAGA faggots, but she still supports LGBTQ rights in all fashions, just not MAGA faggotry. It's one kind of faggotry that she's opposed to.
Is it even wrong to call MAGA faggots if they're unfaggoty? Maybe that's her. Maybe that would have been my defense. It's like, no, they're totally not gay at all. It's just a term of endearment.
All right. Well, did you see what happened with Alec Baldwin?
No, I didn't.
So I'm sure you're familiar with what Alec Baldwin is arguably most famous for now, even beyond his film and TV career, which is, do you know?
I was going to say The Shadow, but I'm going to go with shooting that woman.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So Alec Baldwin, yet again, experiences another unfortunate, dangerous episode in which he was involved, but clearly not at fault, according to him, until you see some video and I don't understand.
Until he's seen holding the gun, pulling the trigger.
So on Monday in New York, this was in East Hampton, New York, or somewhere in the Long Island area, but Alec Baldwin was driving around with his brother, Stephen, and he crashes his wife's Range Rover into a tree. This was after attending a film festival with his brother in Long Island. So he was either trying to avoid this big garbage truck, or he was trying to pass it on the right, like on the shoulder. It's kind of unclear. Either way, this is not. This is probably criminally citable driving, or at least it's going to be his fault for the collision.
I did hear something about a whale of a tree or something about this. I heard
everything in his story. It was the biggest truck you've ever seen. It's very Trumpy, actually.
Yeah.
Biggest truck, biggest tree. Truck. Nobody's ever seen a tree that big before. So before I get to Alec's explanation, Newsmax actually obtained the dash cam video from that garbage truck. And here's the scene.
Just obtained exclusive dash cam video showing the moment actor Alec Baldwin crashed his SUV on the east end of New York's Long Island. The video is from the front-facing camera on a commercial truck. You're seeing the truck here making what's believed to be a legal right turn, and then it slows down.
Seconds later, Baldwin's SUV is seen hitting a mailbox and a tree off to the right side of the truck. The actor, an outspoken Trump hater, claimed on social media that he was driving his wife's Range Rover with his brother Stephen Baldwin in the passenger seat. He said he was trying to avoid hitting this truck, so he veered off the road into the tree.
No injuries from the crash, but do you think there's any kind of plausible explanation for that sort of driving based on that footage?
Not that doesn't include bad driving.
Okay, yeah.
Like, there's no
clarified, yeah.
like, either he was going so fast from so far away that he tried to, you're not going to avoid it on the left because there could be oncoming traffic. So couldn't slow down in time and tried to avoid it on the right and hit the thing, or was trying to pass it on the right in people's lawns. Yeah, I've driven for many, many years and I've never ended up
somehow all the big trees
in that position. Yeah, and it wasn't like a fast moving oncoming vehicle.
No,
this was a large lumbering automobile that somehow threw him off course. So I'm assuming drugs were involved.
I guess I hadn't considered that. Maybe, but
intoxicants of some kind.
They were at an event
he was Alec
prior.
Baldwin. He doesn't seem to be good at handling things appropriately.
In fact, that's part of his explanation at the very end. We'll get to that.
Was there? Did someone else put the gas in the tank?
Maybe
it was like 92 or 102 octane.
In response to the incident, Alec Baldwin released a video statement to explain himself.
I feel that someone is responsible for what happened, and I can't say who that is, but I know it's not me.
Sorry, that was the one about shooting a woman. But
right, okay.
The explanation this time is very similar. No, it's not my fault. That big giant truck cut me off.
This morning I was in this car accident. A guy cut me off in a truck, big garbage truck. I mean, a garbage truck the size of a whale. I've never seen a garbage truck. It must have been something commercial for like taking away material from construction or something. It was the biggest garbage truck I've ever seen. Anyway, I won't go into the details now and bore you, but to avoid hitting him, I hit a tree. I hit a big fat tree and crushed my car, my wife's car. I crushed my wife's car. I feel bad about that, but it's all fine, and I'm fine, and my brother's fine, and okay, I'm fine, other than bye.
Yeah, clearly.
So you're right. I'm Alec Baldwin. Yeah.
Yeah.
If people can't see, if you're listening to the show, when he says, I'm fine, except for he does the rotating finger cuckoo motion on his brain,
for
like
being crazy.
Yeah. But
I just love the deflection with the truck. Like, I'm not going to get into the details of how obscenely large this gigantic truck was, which kind of works against any plausible deniability there. It's like the bigger the thing that just came out of nowhere and threw you off the road. I couldn't. It was so huge,
and
I couldn't help but notice it from a mile away.
So people understand, I believe his video there on Instagram explaining what happened was released before Newsmax obtained the dash cam video from the truck. So he made it, I'm guessing, assuming there was not video of what happened. And if you go look at the dash cam video from the truck, there is a timestamp. And you can see, I should have grabbed screenshots, but I forgot. The truck turns right onto the main road there at about 12 seconds on the on that timestamp, or no, it's 18 seconds on the timer. Alec Baldwin then veers around and goes into the mailbox in the tree at about 30 seconds. So what that means is there's about 12 seconds difference between the big truck entering the roadway and Alec Baldwin veering off the road into the tree. That's not a cutoff. You had over 10 seconds of response time and you failed to respond in time. So it's either you weren't paying attention because you were doing something else, or you're on some kind of substance, like you said, or you're just cuckoo Alec Baldwin. But there's no world based on that footage in which that is not his fault. you had plenty of he would have otherwise rear-ended the truck, and I can't imagine any sort of finding a fault in that situation in which it's not his.
Yeah, no, even if you saw the truck and you were trying to slow down, you would have stopped before the truck stopped. I mean, the Range Rover, they're not the best stopping machine, but they're better than a dump truck. And he managed to get in front of the truck and then hit what I did not see as being a large tree. I saw like a mailbox. So he's not even right about the size of the tree.
It stopped the car, so it's a pretty big tree in that regard.
I guess. Okay. I couldn't see it in the video.
But 12 seconds, man, even if you're turning on to like a 70 mile per hour highway, which I don't know what you guys up north call it, however many kilometers per hour that is,
we're not allowed to go that fast.
Yeah, but around here, there are a lot of 70 mile per hour roads. 12 seconds of time is enough on a 70. This looked like maybe a 30, maybe 45.
Yeah, that was a residential street.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be going over. Yeah.
You have
I don't know what's your
residential
with 12 mile an hour. Yeah. No, there's nothing normal. I think he was trying to pass on the right and is retarded.
Now, here's another thing about Alec Baldwin's explanation. Now, you're familiar with the smoke alarm chirping and the conclusions that are drawn from this phenomenon. Yeah.
I got in trouble at a visit a couple of weeks ago for pointing it out. I won't go into it.
I want to hear that story on the other side of the video.
Yeah, it'll be
because
not for the internet.
Oh, I can't share it at all. All right. Well, you can share it with me privately, and then it'll leak in the chat, and we'll all get in trouble.
Just an off-color joke at showing an apartment with a smoke alarm, and I felt like,
oh, that's right. Because can I disclose your profession?
Yeah, I work in real estate.
Was it? Yeah, you're in real estate. Was it it was in the context of your job that this happened?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I made a cultural reference.
You were trying to be inclusive. Look, the chirping alarms around here are exceptional. Beautiful tone in the chirps. Musical, really.
I'm saying it's a feature. It's, the place is going to be well maintained.
Well, does Alec Baldwin have inclusive housing? Because I'm listening to his Instagram video explaining what happened with this car crash. And like the commentary from the school board woman, I thought, that's not the sound I think it is it? But what other sound would it be?
I do want to take an opportunity to congratulate everybody on the staff of the film festival, everyone on the film festival. I want to thank them. I've been Officer Gherkin from the East Hampton Police Department. As nice as can be and as pleasant as can be about the whole thing.
I don't know who is responsible for that chirping, but I know it's not me. Change the battery. Yeah. Change the battery. The accidental IQ test strikes again, but Alec Baldwin is telling us there's something wrong with his brain.
Is he like in a stairway? I don't even understand the location.
I guess I didn't observe. You want me to bring it up one more time? And I could,
I do.
I do want to take an opportunity to congratulate everybody on the staff of the film festival. Everyone
it's not good
on the film festival. I want to thank them. I've been Officer Gherkin from the East Hampton Police Department. As nice as can be and as pleasant as can be about the whole thing.
It is a weird surrounding.
It's also an odd chirp sound too. It's sort of long.
That's why I thought maybe it's not that, because it sounded loud. It might just be echo in the space. It almost sounded like an oven alarm or something to me, because it was just stronger.
Yeah, it was more like a McDonald's. You know, when you hear those beeps coming from the back.
Yeah, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he was microwaving a burrito or something.
Maybe, yeah. It was almost like a microwave chirp. But even the background, like, this is why actors are not directors. Like, that's just who advises them on the Instagram setup? Like, dude, background, lighting, come on.
Well, yeah.
Audio.
Clearly, he does not have a set for this presentation. But the reason I know it's got to be the smoke alarm is because if you go and listen to that, you hear it twice, but it's in I didn't time it out, but I'm pretty confident it's a 1 or 2 minute interval. If you go and look at it, I guess maybe like a microwave would do that if you let it sit and you don't open the door. I don't know, but
it would be like bing, 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 bing.
Yeah. I think it's smoke alarm.
The timing. Okay. We'll go with
Anyway, we got a little bit of time before the top of the hour, so I didn't know if I was going to have time to get into this, but I do want to mention it because it's going a little viral today. So the Supreme Court's back in session, Mark, which is very consequential for our country in terms of the way that the law is interpreted and applied, and that's what really matters. But it also has secondary entertainment value because we have people like Sonia Sotomayor and Ketanji Brown Jackson on the court making statements like, I think that your interpretation of the First Amendment would severely hamstring the government. Those sorts of quotes. Now, I haven't followed the particular case that was in front of the Supreme Court today, but it's about the way that congressional districts are set up in our country and whether those and how those comply with anti-discrimination laws. So the scope to which states can define their congressional districts while complying with federal law and constitutional requirements on not excluding racial minorities from the vote. Does that make sense? That's kind of what they're considering.
Sounds technical.
Yeah, I don't know all the
This is
particulars.
going to be a
of the
struggle.
case.
This is going to be a struggle for ChatGPT.
Well, Ketanji Brown Jackson confuses everything, simple or complicated concepts. It's not even that she got this wrong necessarily. I guess she did, but in the context of considering that, Ketanji Brown Jackson makes an argument that in the context of voting, black people are just like disabled people under the Americans with Disabilities Act because they don't have the same access to voting that like a guy in a wheelchair, in a way like a guy in a wheelchair might not have access to a building. Listen to Ketanji Brown Jackson somehow not racistly describing the literal disability of being black.
I guess I'm thinking of it, of the fact that remedial action absent discriminatory intent is really not a new idea in the civil rights laws. And my kind of paradigmatic example of this is something like the
That's
ADA.
a big reach of a word. Paradigmatic.
I'm still trying to figure out the remedial action without discriminatory intent.
World that was generally not
Well, she's going to
accessible
explain it.
to people with disabilities. And so it was discriminatory in effect because these folks were not able to access these buildings. And it didn't matter whether the person who built the building or the person who owned the building intended for them to be exclusionary. That's irrelevant. Congress said the facilities have to be made equally open to people with disabilities if readily possible. I guess I don't understand why that's not what's happening here. The idea in Section 2 is that we are responding to current day manifestations of past and present decisions that disadvantage minorities and make it so that they don't have equal access to the voting system, right? They're disabled. In fact, we use the word disable in Milligan. We say that's a way in which you see that these processes are not equally open.
Okay, so black people in the context of voting are literally disabled.
Does she reference any examples of this said disability?
You know, in fairness to Ketanji, I did not hear the argument today, so I don't know if maybe she added more to it or explained, like, here, hey, you guys ever tried to vote in Louisiana? It's just like being in a wheelchair and trying to roll up the stairs.
Well, it reminds me of there's that famous YouTube video. I can't remember the guy's name, but he goes to a very liberal area and asks them about voter ID, and they're like, "No, of course it's racist. Black people don't have computers, and they don't know where the DMV is."
Yeah.
I guess it's going to be falling back on that kind of fallacious argument.
It's fine, I guess, because she's a black woman on the court. If you change the speaker in this context, it's hard to understand how that would be acceptable when you are fundamental. I guess the best I can say for her is she is saying that there are legal obstacles that present metaphorical staircases here. I don't agree with that characterization. I don't think that exists in this country anymore, which is kind of the point of this decision at the Supreme Court, as far as I gather. But if not intentionally, it has the effect of saying black people can't figure this out. They can't figure out how to vote like everybody else can.
Yeah, okay. Unless it's in reference to some type of like if they're, you know what I mean, gerrymandering, where they're drawing it in such a way that, I don't know, they have to cross a highway to get to the polling station, like what, something. It's.
I'm sure the Young Republicans chat would have many a fine joke about this. Maybe we just put watermelon in every polling place, and you'll have 100% participation of color, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway. Have we thought about that? You know, what can we do to incentivize civil participation?
Free watermelons at the polling station?
I don't know. Ketanji, call me. I got ideas.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, speaking of calls, it's time to get into them, if you would like. You want to hop in the Discord server?
I
before I do?
should be there. Remind me how it works.
Just hop in. It's the Matt
Live
Christiansen
room.
calls server, and you want to hop in the live room. You think you can handle that? And yeah, there you go. All right.
Boom.
First up tonight is Skulldugger. Skulldugger, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Well, what's on your mind, sir?
I just wanted to say hi to Mark real quick. This is actually the first time him and I have ever been on at the same time.
Ooh.
Hello, can you hear me?
So hello, Mark.
Hello, can you
I
hear
guess
me?
he can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to unmute
Sorry
my
to be
mic.
testing the duct tape. I should have just ignored it and rolled on. This is my bad.
I'm going to unmute you so I'll hear you double, but probably change your mic.
Hang
Oh,
on.
you know what? I see you as muted in Discord, Mark.
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute. It's not letting
There's
me.
a button at the bottom. A little microphone button.
There we go.
Oh, and now
Yeah,
I
this is-
have to mute you to stop the double play.
Sorry,
All right.
Matt. I had to get my old man glasses out because I was pressing the menu
They
and not
don't
the
know what
unmute.
the fuck they're doing.
Okay. You guys can hear each other now?
We got there. Hi.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Skulldugger.
Skulldugger. Oh, okay. Good one. I like that.
Thank you.
Well, what's on your mind, sir?
I wanted to talk the Israel, Gaza, Palestine peace and what your thoughts are and how optimistic you are that this is going to stick.
Well, I haven't paid a ton of attention to it, to be honest. I did see, we went over it on Sunday, the basic terms. I did see that the hostages were exchanged on Monday with Israel disputing the remains of one of them. But you might have to catch me up. I know there were like Palestinian on Palestinian skirmishes, but other than the dispute about the identity of one of the deceased hostages, it seems like things are still in place, are they not?
It's sort of yes and no. Everybody keeps talking optimistically about it, like the parties involved. However, both sides are also still saber rattling quite a bit, with Israel being very insistent that they get to basically have control of the borders, which would put basically a permanent presence, Israeli presence within Gaza. And Hamas is still basically stating that they are going to be the military arm of whatever comes next in that territory.
Okay, if they're stating that definitively, that is a deal breaker on the deal, is it not? I thought one of the terms long term was Hamas must disarm, and they're not part of the governance long term of Gaza.
Well, technically, both of those points would be breaks of points within the 20-point plan, because Israel is supposed to surrender control over to a sort of some sort of Arab conglomeration, which hasn't even been fully identified as to who the Arab parties that are.
Wasn't it going to be Tony Blair? That's what I heard.
Yeah.
In some way, which is hilarious.
So Tony Blair is supposed to be negotiating basically who the who the incoming parties to govern Gaza are going to be. It's supposed to be some amalgamation of the Palestinian, the PLO. I think Saudi Arabia was throwing their hat in to get involved. Egypt wants to have some involvement just because they share that border. But nobody is being really firm. Nobody seems to want this job.
Right.
But everybody seems to be very clear that Israel can't do it.
Okay. Well, I am the Ketanji Brown Jackson of Israel, Gaza, Hamas relations. So for me to try to forecast the future on this would be nothing more than I've seen them fighting for a long time, so I'm going to speculate the fighting is going to continue. But it seems like you're someone who pays more attention to this. Before I let you go, what is your mid to long-term forecast here?
I think it's at least a good thing that we have a ceasefire. It appears that we're going to have at least a pause in the fighting. But I mean, this is a conflict that has such deep roots. It's possibly the longest ongoing hot conflict in the world. So to imagine that it's just going to get smoothed out with one deal brokered by parties that nobody even really trusts I'm not super optimistic here, but I mean, it does look like this one has a little bit more teeth than some of the things that we've seen in the past. There appears to be more people in agreement. And I think a lot of that is because of how absolutely annihilated the Gaza Strip it currently is. They don't.
I heard it was because of Joe Biden's leadership, and Antony Blinken, or Antony Blinken, former Secretary of State, assured me that Biden actually outlined this whole thing.
Yeah, I heard about that. I saw those tweets, and that was a good laugh. That was a good hearty belly laugh.
Well, thank you for the call, my friend. Appreciate your updates on that story. And of course, hoping for the best over there. And it's nice to see some progress, but it's hard to be totally optimistic about that region of the world.
Yeah. I think if anything, hopefully, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we'll put progress in quotes for now.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll take it. Better than the alternative, I guess. Thank you, Skulldugger. Mark, did you have a thought you wanted to?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, I have very little hopes of the Israelis and the Gazans ever not fighting, but hopefully what this does, it puts America in a better position where they're kind of out of it, or at least, it's kind of putting it on the Arabs, like, here, you guys take care of this, Trump's out, and you can focus on America first, Lord willing, and let
How
them
nice
do
of you to
whatever they
think of
want
our
to each
country.
other.
So many Canucks don't.
Yeah, don't judge me by my
What is
country,
Canada's role, if any? Are they participating in any of these discussions, or do they have any support role?
Oh, no, no, we're a joke, and our prime minister's a joke. Thank God, because we believe validated, or whatever it's called, Palestinian statehood, and we're taking as many of them as we possibly can, and they're marching down our streets every day, causing shit.
So you took them all in, and they still hate you.
We did. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, now they're here.
Sounds familiar. Yeah.
Acting like they do.
All right.
awesome.
Turles is up next. Turles, are you there?
I am indeed. How
Go
are
ahead,
you,
sir.
gentlemen, this evening?
We are well. What's on your mind?
Very good.
Quick correction on the previous caller. I just want to say the agreement did involve some control of the border for the Israelis. That was supposed to be part of the agreement.
You are fake news.
Very fake news.
Correction noted. Thank you.
Yep. But that's not what I want to talk about. This week, I thought I would present a little nonfiction. I was thinking about the conversation you had with Joshy Boy about rights and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And as usual, it occurs to me that most people don't know much about founding philosophy and all that sort of thing. So, not to throw too much shade at Joshy there. I just think,
Or me.
yeah, no, yeah.
How dare you? No, it's fine.
But yeah, so everybody should really consider studying up on the Federalist Papers, and frankly, it is a pretty dry and difficult read by today's standards. But so I thought I would present an approach that might work for more people.
Sure.
If you listen to Larry Arnn's speech at Charlie Kirk's memorial, he mentioned that Charlie actually completed like 31 of Hillsdale's free online courses on different things like the Constitution and sure enough, the Federalist Papers. So, yeah,
I wasn't aware they were free. That's really cool.
Yeah. And I use them to study all kinds of things. Like one recent one that I did was Dante's The Divine Comedy. So again, very long, very hard to understand, but if you use the free online course from Hillsdale, it becomes approachable.
How long does a course take? Are we talking like a semester at a usual college, or is it something shorter?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm looking at the Federalist Papers course right now. Now, of course, it's long enough if you include the reading, but you can just watch the lecture videos, and you can still, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do the reading, because you should, but if you find yourself short on time, and for anybody in the audience as well, you can, of course, just watch the lectures, and that'll run up to about 7 hours for the Federalist Papers, which is really not bad. When you're talking about basically a semester's worth of curriculum, 7 hours is pretty good.
They're skipping a lot of the papers in that time, but there are a few core ones. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I do think everybody should read them, but if you find it hard to understand, something like this can really help to digest it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the rec. I wasn't aware that they offer that sort of free stuff. For someone who's thinking about going to college to study political science like I did, I don't know about you, Turles, what your interest or what your background in this area is, but
I was dumb. I studied engineering and computer science, and I should have been studying this.
Good job, because I spent tens of thousands of dollars to do it, and you can go and learn about it for free. And a lot of this stuff, the Federalist Papers are written, in the 1700s, so the language is different than the language we would use today, and so I also have difficulty reading it and understanding it fully. But you don't have to pay some expensive college with all the insane professors to get you a good understanding of core American founding political philosophy. That's really cool, and I'm glad you mentioned it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's nice of Hillsdale do that. Is it available? Like, do you have a link you can post somewhere? Like, is it just on YouTube or hillsdale.com? Where do people find this?
I mean, can I put it in the YouTube chat? I'm just gonna try.
Sometimes links work, or I don't know, but
YouTube's annoying. Just say it.
Links can be a little dicey. But if I'm sure people can find it. They just go to the Hillsdale website, and there's got to be a directory of courses, is there not?
Yeah, if you if you just Google really Hillsdale online course Federalist Papers, you'll find it right away.
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect.
All right. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Was not aware that was a program.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have a great night.
Enjoy.
Thanks.
For people who aren't familiar, and I take Turles's point, the Federalist Papers, for a lot of the American education, in my experience, are kind of forgotten. They're sort of secondary. I don't think I was introduced to them at all in my government class, civics classes in high school. I don't think I encountered them until college. And for people who aren't aware, the Federalist Papers are kind of like the footnotes to the Constitution. So you read the Constitution, and it's going to describe to you the way the government is organized and how it's limited. But you don't really get a philosophical explanation for why. Like, we did it this way. Why? Well, that's what the Federalist Papers are about. And they are an explanation for the philosophy behind the design of our government. And there's kind of debate within it, because some are by Hamilton, some are by Madison. It's not all the same author. And so for someone who might have difficulty understanding, again, centuries-old documents and how they relate to the way our government is designed, that sounds like a great course if you're interested in that sort of thing. And I think it is an area sorely lacking in our education, Mark. It's not just like, how does your government work? The why question. Why do we have so many people confused about the way they act like the Electoral College is a bug and stupid? No, it's deliberately designed that way, and they talked about it very thoroughly.
Well, the commenter had mentioned Charlie Kirk, right? And if you look at the way he was able to debate these topics and actually get in beyond just sort of what is stated in the Constitution, but why it's in there and what it represents, having a knowledge of these papers, I think, is quintessential to that. So, yeah, outstanding resource.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, Zero Snark 30, Mr. Snark 30, go ahead.
Hey, Matt. It was good to be back. I like talking on the show. Anyway, quick.
Well, thanks for calling in.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
To be quick about it, this whole Young Republicans thing, this whole leak chat, Vince Colonnese had a great point on his radio show today. He's a pretty good radio host guy. Does some good interviews. And he's mentioned, if any of your liberal friends mention this thing, just simply ask back, can you name anyone in this scandal without Googling them?
Yeah, of course. You cannot.
Of course not.
I've never heard of any of these people. But it's going to be ridiculous. Like, I'm getting ready because, okay, I'll tell you a quick story then. Just last Sunday, my pastor did not say, for the last month, he hasn't said anything about Charlie Kirk until this Sunday. Because I, during prayer before sermon, got a little animated and said that, man, I prayed for the safety and the spiritual health of this nation because of all the people who celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk. And I got a little animated, and a bunch of other people got livened up, and they joined in and they agreed with me in the prayer. And the pastor started sweating a bit. And then this Sunday that just happened, he mentioned in the middle of his sermon the death of Charlie Kirk, the shooting of Charlie Kirk, and how all the people that were celebrating, they're basically just AI and bots.
No way. Definitely no way.
He said that during his sermon.
Wow.
And, so if he ever brings up the young Republicans saying those terrible racist things, I'll just say those are AI and bots.
Wow. What is your standing with this church? Have you enjoyed your time there otherwise? Is this kind of out of nowhere, or are you?
It is
okay. So you're skeptical
to help out the people near me who have a thing that it's mostly a geographic thing where I'm helping people near me.
Understood. Okay.
Okay.
Sort of
This isn't like a church you grew up in. Like this is not.
Yeah, me and the people close to me after that moment in the sermon, like, oh, we're starting to like get our stuff ready for takeoff and just getting out of this friggin' place.
Wow. What kind of church is it?
It's one of those. It's basically one of those non-denominational types.
Okay.
It's the kind that give Protestants a bad name.
That's what I grew up in one of those. So I know what you're talking about.
It's interesting because it's not exactly the same, but I had something of a similar church experience. If you want to hear me tell it, Zero Snark, is that
No
okay?
problem.
If I
Go
okay?
right
So
ahead.
at my church, the Charlie Kirk was not mentioned in the sermon the Sunday after. Of course, it happened on a Wednesday, so go to church service on Sunday, not mentioned. Now, I was not necessarily bothered by that. Reason being, I can tell that at my church, they make a deliberate effort not to involve themselves in current day politics. And you could interpret that as cowardice. I actually interpret that as more of staying on topic. Like, let's stick to the scripture and let's talk about the big themes and not get lost in the day-to-day news cycle. So that's the way that I took it. I was not necessarily bothered by it. My wife was pretty bothered by the exclusion. And apparently the whole congregation was pissed off about it, way beyond me, because the next Sunday, the pastor spent like 20 minutes explaining himself and how sorry he was for not mentioning Charlie Kirk the Sunday prior. So he got massive pushback. Now, there was no like AI or bot commentary. I thought his sermon after the fact was great. I didn't have any problem with it. And I was not one of the pitchfork people, not to dismiss them, but I'm just saying I was not part of the anger that he apparently got for the original exclusion. But I took that as very encouraging in that clearly there is a lot of anger among the people that I'm in this church with about exactly this. And so even though you could criticize the church and the pastor, I was encouraged by the reaction of the congregation, and I was encouraged by the pastor's reaction to it. Even if you think he was at fault for not mentioning him in the first place, he clearly was accountable to his congregation and treated it seriously. So I appreciated that.
Yep, that's preferable to the church that I'm in, not to sound like I'm self-pitying too much.
Yeah, but at least you were proactive and you got him to address it and encourage that kind of as someone who left the church at a pretty young age and still haven't found another one to be a part of. I've always felt bad because I've always believed that if you have a problem with something, get involved and improve it. Don't just sit back and criticize. So I encourage you to get more involved and push it to change in a good direction. And I guess I have a slightly different opinion than Matt, that I think churches should be political to some degree without, obviously there's the right balance to strike. But I think that maybe there's a reason a lot of people haven't gotten involved in a lot of the responsibility for why we are where we are right now is because the church has kind of stepped back and said, oh, let's not pay attention to the stuff on the ground. And I think it's really
and
important
obviously the purpose of understanding the scripture is for its own sake, but a practical application of it demands that we're able to navigate the world today within that framework. So I don't think that's totally out of line.
Thanks.
I would say like my preference, if I had to pick between two political, even politics I agree with, and not political enough in the way that you're describing, I would still prefer to focus on the scripture itself and allow us to navigate the world according to that rather than like getting lost in the news cycle. But I take your point. I don't think that's out of line.
Happy balance.
Yeah. I think that's why I wasn't so angry, is because that's the motive I take my church as operating from, is like, but even for significant, let's put it this way. I've been going for almost a year and I've never heard them discuss a news event of any kind, really. So I didn't take it as out of order or out of the usual character of that church, that they wouldn't discuss even this particularly terrible event.
Yeah. I guess it's a matter of, everyone has their different opinion, but I always got frustrated by that. I'll even tune into services from my old church and I'm like, why aren't you talking about, I want, like, how does this scripture relate to what's going on today?
Yeah.
And to each their own.
Yeah.
If I may, one last thing about, because normally I'd also agree that I would prefer a not political enough church as opposed to a very active one, except early this year, he mentioned in a different sermon how concerned he was with the shuttering of U.S. aid and that we might be judged as a nation for that. Is that
Why are you still going there?
Get out
Like I said.
All right.
That's totally different. So now we know everything about this guy that we need to.
Basically. All right. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate the call.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Have a great night.
Cheers.
Okay, that'll do it on calls tonight. Appreciate our callers. We'll get through some voicemails or a voicemail and emails, and then we'll get to super chatters. Thank you guys for your super chat and your patience as well. Let me pull up. We just have one voicemail tonight, and I want to emphasize for people who want to participate in the show, if you want to leave a voicemail or send an email for participation in the show, both of those are available on the contact page of my website, mattchristiansenmedia.com/contact. You can type in the box for an email submission. You can use the click to call button to leave a voicemail. And we just have one voicemail left this week. So we'll play that. This is from listener Drew.
Hey, Matt, this is Drew Westmoreland. I just want to call in and say congratulations on growing your family. I think that's amazing. I think that it is not necessarily the primary reason for marriage, but it is a blessing nonetheless. It's awesome to hear that you're expanding your family. So take care, sir, and best of luck. Bye.
Got him!
Thank you, Drew, for the well-wishing. And of course,
don't make me tap the sign.
We actually have several people tonight who are going to make me tap the sign, Mark. And I don't know if you're familiar with what sign tapping means.
I've seen so many signs tapped. I don't. It's very used.
Yeah, that's the thing is, like, I think this is very important, this topic, obviously. And that's why I want to keep talking about it and getting it. And people want to keep emailing me about it. So I guess if I want to engage, I got to keep talking about it. But for people who haven't, maybe you've been away from the show for a little while, you've missed these segments on Wednesdays, whatever your circumstance might be. The people who are lining up to make me tap the sign, what I mean when I say tap the sign, it is related to the question of what is the purpose of marriage. And ever since I talked about Glenn Greenwald, Mark, he had that homemade like maid porn video that leaked.
The feet thing? Is that?
Do you remember the maid video?
I don't remember a maid being involved in him licking.
He was dressed in a maid's costume.
Or something? Okay.
Yeah, he was licking a man's feet.
Yeah.
And I wanted to clarify or explain why.
Yeah, we discussed this. I think.
Were you on that show?
Okay. I think that was you and me. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So if you were there was discussion about what makes this morally wrong, even if it's consenting adults. And there's discussion about the children involved and what the purpose of a proper marriage is. And that was the origin of all of this.
Okay.
So it continues now. And when I say don't make me tap the sign, that's what I mean. What I mean is the purpose of marriage is the production of children. Insofar as the defining feature of the male-female relationship is exactly that. It is the production of children and maintaining all the responsibilities and obligations that go along with that. So that's what tapping the sign is.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I think I know I had some argument with you when we first raised it, but I don't remember what it was. So
I can't remember if you agreed or disagreed. Yeah.
I was in my normal like half agree, but
okay. Well, then we're going to get back into it tonight because I actually have several questions to this effect.
Let's do it.
So Drew is actually the same as the voicemail caller. He actually he double dipped. He submitted an email and a voicemail, but
I'll allow it.
Okay. So Drew says he was the guy who caused the whirlwind of multi-months long debate on this topic. And I don't know if that's true. It could be. I'm not saying Drew's wrong. I know the origin was the Glenn Greenwald thing. And then there was a lot of discussion about what I had to say about the Glenn Greenwald thing. And I don't have my quote from last week that he's referencing. He referenced a timestamp in my stream from Wednesday. But what he's offering is in the context of what I said on the Wednesday stream last week, which was something to the effect of the sign tapping. The defining feature of the male-female relationships, the production of children, the purpose of marriage is to institutionalize the production of children, all the obligations and responsibilities that go along with that.
Sure.
So Drew says, I totally disagree. If the entire point of marriage, the primary reason for marriage, is to produce children, then having more wives to produce more children makes it an even better union, correct? I understand the point of your statement, but I think it's missing the point that of what God intended for his children. But what do I know? I'm not married and I don't have any unaborted children. Okay. Take care and congratulations on your growing family. You're blessed. I'm sorry to hear about the abortions, and God bless those children. Thank you for your well-wishing. I appreciate it. I think...
Yeah, wait, so is this show against polygamy? Am I on the wrong show? Is that what's going on?
I'm going to clarify that. Yeah, I guess.
Do you not know how many wives I have?
I've been advocating it this whole time. No, I think on this point, there might be some confusion, Drew, on what I mean when I say the purpose of marriage is the production of children. Maybe it's an inappropriate or incomplete characterization on the production. I don't just mean like basic conception and birth as in the pure factory of it, like the making of children and that's it. I mean...
do you mean rearing? The rear-upment of
maybe that's a better
well-adjusted, well-formed adults?
Because what I mean is marriage locks you in to those responsibilities and obligations that are owed to those children. One dad, one mom, committed to each other. So the purpose of marriage is the proper production of children, or producing children well might be a better way for clarity.
Well, the phrase I've used forever is the providing of a stable environment for the rearing of well-adjusted children.
Yes.
And the lifelong commitment, regardless of whatever the tides may be.
Yes.
It's not about you. It's about them knowing they've got a safe place. And that's what they're there to provide.
So why does polygamy not work? Because it's about, more than just the factory. Polygamy does not serve the interest of the child because it takes dad's attention and resources away from that child and puts it in other places. Polygamy is a betrayal of the child in that sense. So
yeah, well, I've heard it's really what it actually, because women are prone to be competitive, and putting multiple women in one marriage can exacerbate that instinct, and it can just be a nightmare, especially when it comes to which children are going to get preference from the father. And it's a nightmare scenario for children to see their different mothers competing for the father's attention.
I'm sure. I guess I haven't looked at how polygamy plays out in practical terms, but I have my doubts in theory.
I'm an expert, so. Yeah.
I also, Drew, and I don't say this as a criticism, but I'm just noting, I don't see a counter proposal here. If not the production of children or the rearing of children, as Mark puts it, then what is the purpose of marriage? You've rejected my explanation, but I haven't seen one from you. And even if I take your point, that my point is wrong, let's say, okay, you've disproved me because your polygamy point, or because of the question remains, what is the proper purpose of marriage then? And I know you're probably trying to be brief, and I'm not saying again, it's not a criticism. I'm just inviting you, if you'd like to participate further, give me the counter proposal. What is the properly understood purpose of marriage? And I'll be happy to address that. All right.
Sorry, I got distracted because that is the most American last name I've ever seen.
Westmoreland?
Yeah.
Why?
Just think like what
Western
was it?
land.
Manifest Destiny.
More land in the
more
West.
Land.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't think of it that way, but yeah, that makes sense. Trying to be meek says respectfully, please do not tap the sign just yet.
Don't make me tap the sign.
Please consider Genesis 2:18. God did not want man to be alone, so God made him a helper, a complement. The problem was loneliness. God's answer was to divide man and make a woman, our other half. In God's infinite wisdom, he therein designed the means to create more helpers and complements. So I would put to you that the primary reason for marriage is to combat loneliness, and children are part of that answer. Before this is perceived as splitting hairs, please note the answer works in the absence of children. So A may be B, but B is not always A, offered in the hopes of leaving that poor dead horse alone. You can't, you have resurrected the dead horse if you want the horse dead. No. Again, these are important concepts, so that's fine. May God continue to bless your house. Well, God bless you, and thank you for the well-wishing also. Now, there is, of course, also the scripture that's immediately prior that's about being fruitful and multiplying. That means at least as much, but I will fully acknowledge I am not a scriptural lecture guy, and I'll take your points on scripture. I'm not here to dispute them. But I don't think these things are mutually exclusive either. And I guess you're saying that in your question. Like, children can serve the primary purpose of not being lonely. But again, I question the order of operations here, or the order of the hierarchy. What is primary? What is secondary? If the primary point of marriage is to combat loneliness, what is wrong with any other form of marriage or general relationship? Man on Xbox Live combats loneliness. Woman and woman at the wine bar combats loneliness. Man and dog at the dog park combats loneliness.
Or man and woman, or man and any other woman. It doesn't say man was lonely, so God made marriage. It says man was lonely, so God made women. And the marriage is a different topic.
Yeah. The defining feature, there is a defining feature to man and woman, and it is exactly that. It's the production of children. If we take that point, if we take the point of anti-loneliness as primary, it would be perfectly fine morally, or according to the organizing principle here, that nobody has children. And if we're worried about loneliness, there ain't no loneliness like being old and alone and without family and dying off. If everybody treats anti-loneliness as primary and children are an expense in that arrangement, there is no future. The future is ultimately lonely. There have to be children to combat loneliness. And I think that's part of your point. I'm not saying that's totally against you, but I don't even see the argument that you could serve the purpose of anti-loneliness without children necessarily being part of that calculation. Just my, so I'm not persuaded by the anti-loneliness argument. I think anti-loneliness is clearly secondary, not primary.
Yeah. I think, well, again, if you look at, I'm forgetting what the sign said already, but for me, again, marriage is always about children. And if you look at marriage for the, it's always just been, that's the purpose of it, is for children. So
I have some commentary from somebody else to this effect that I'll play in a little bit, that maybe explains it a little bit better than I apparently can explain it myself. But this is the last one on tapping the sign, I swear, for people that have had enough. But Bill G says, "Hey Matt, always love listening to your show the next day." Well, thank you. Appreciate that. I'm responding to the conversation you had with the first caller on the Wednesday show. This is last week, to the same point, who was challenging your view on the primary reason for marriage, for having children. As an evangelical Christian, I would like to actually articulate the primary point of marriage is not about the children, but it's a very happy consequence of the primary reason. Take a look at Ephesians 5:22-33 and see the full context. But the summary is in verses 31 and 32. Quote, "Therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh." 32 says, "This mystery is profound, and I am saying it refers to Christ and the church. The point of marriage is to be a reflection of the relationship between Christ and the church. Living out a biblical marriage means a husband sufficiently loves his wife, and a wife joyfully follows her husband's lead. That is the picture of what God wants for his children in following his son. A good marriage is a good testimony of the gospel. When you see the reason, then you can immediately rule out all the other forms. There is no such thing as a homosexual marriage. Christ isn't the bride of Christ, and there is no validity in polygamy. Christ is eternally committed to his one true church. Then hopefully it's easy to see that the commandment to be, or the command to be fruitful and multiply equally applies to both, but also protects the sanctity of marriage, even if the couple cannot have a child." Well, thank you for the kind words as well. Now, as far as couples not being able to have kids, the exception doesn't disprove the rule. And I know that you're not necessarily saying that, but this is one thing that I see come up frequently. Well, are you condemning married couples who can't have kids or don't want to have kids? No. When I describe to you what a car is, and I say it has four wheels, you might say, well, I've seen cars that are missing wheels, or I've seen cars that actually have more than four wheels because they have trailers, or they have, they're different car arrangement. Okay, The exception doesn't define the rule or disprove the rule, though. We still know what the definition of a car is. The married couple of one man and one woman recognizes the organizing principle the same. In general, the union of one man, one woman creates child. That's what separates it from all other relationships. That's why it has a special designation and status. Now, as far as emulating Christ and the church and reflecting the gospel and God honoring this union in a special way, I don't think that point is wrong at all. And I take your scriptural reference and I don't have dispute with any of it. But I think the question remains, why does that union of one man and one woman emulate Christ and the church? Why does God bless that union in special terms? And I would assume that God did that for a reason, that it wasn't just random designation, that God wasn't just playing roulette and it landed on one man and one woman. They treat it, it's treated as something special because it has something special about it. And that's when I say the defining feature, that's what I mean. Something that separates it from all other relationships. The defining feature of the union of one man and one woman is a child. And the institution of marriage exists to secure the obligations and responsibilities that go along with that. I'm not sure I follow the point on the exclusion of homosexual marriage or other types of marriage in the context of what you're saying with scripture. I don't mean to dismiss the point. I'm just not sure I follow the logic, because to me, the exclusion only follows if you recognize the defining feature that relationship can create children and none of the other ones can.
I guess that would be an argument to my point, that about it being about the rearing of children. They could say, well, then two gay men in a gay marriage could raise a gay man child.
Yeah.
And that would be the thing. So that would be the argument. But again, the exception doesn't prove the rule. And for me, I don't think there's any better example of two becoming one than through a child. I mean, that is literally two people becoming one.
It is interesting
physically
that
and metaphysically.
That the emailer raises the point about the scripture and the two becoming one flesh in the biblical context.
Literally a child, right?
Well, it's interesting. We're doing Ephesians in my Bible study right now, so we went through a lot. Actually, Ephesians chapter 5 this last Friday, and that was what I asked my Bible study leader. Was I feel like I'm doing my Wednesday show, because we're talking about the purpose of marriage and. Without injecting my own opinion into that, because this is about the rest of the group's discussion and the Bible study leaders' guidance of it. But my question was, how are we to properly interpret that language, that the two become one flesh? Because to me, as a scriptural layman, somebody who's not studied the proper meaning of these things at significant length, I take that in the most literal sense. The two become one flesh, like you're saying. To me, that necessarily implies child. But I suppose you could interpret it to mean they become one flesh through the union itself.
Yeah, then you're going to get into all kinds of, metaphysical communion type things, and that's just it's all been above my head.
Yeah, I mean, the only way they are literally one flesh is in the context of a kid. Other than that, they're not literally one flesh, and you can make some metaphorical argument. I'm not saying that's wrong. But to me, if I'm to take that language literally, that's what I would interpret it to
be.
me.
For me, it's always, if you can take it literally, you may as well. So I mean, the default, Occam's razor there. And then same thing with Christ and the church. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not a historian, but I believe marriage even predates Christ. So I think that the example is the other way around, and that the example there is that Christ and the church are as a man and his wife, and not that a man and his wife should be like Christ and the church. That's always the way I took it anyways.
Yeah, well, I know in the context of Ephesians, it's Paul talking about what a proper Christian household and Christian marriage looks like. So I would assume that when Paul's writing that, marriage is an existing institution, and he's describing what the proper Christian version of that is. I think, to your point, that marriage existed prior to what Paul's saying at that point. But of course, Ephesians is not the only thing that Ephesians is after Christ's death. This is Paul, many years or decades later. The language that we have to this effect in Genesis is much older. But I guess I'd have to go back and read Genesis. Is Genesis, does it have marriage specific language, or is it just about
I don't believe so. I think that's later on.
Anyway, I know that the people who are still listening are like, for the love of God, please move on from this point. And I understand fully. I like engaging with this because I think it's crucial that we get it right. But I do want to leave you with some commentary that I think is very, very good and much more succinct than I have been, because I've engaged with several of these arguments now. And as I was reminded of some commentary from Alan Keyes, who was a Republican Senate candidate in Illinois. He actually ran against Barack Obama in 2004, before Obama was elected to the Senate, before Obama spoke at the Democrat convention and eventually became the president, of course. And during that debate in that election season in 2004, Alan Keyes was challenging Obama on gay marriage. And gay adoption. And I think Obama at the time was still anti-gay marriage, but was in favor of civil unions or, whatever. He was something on the pro-gay marriage side, if not fully there.
Yeah, I don't think he went full gay marriage until like 2010.
Yeah, I think it was part of his, how I remember is because Joe Biden improperly leaked the news before his reelection campaign. Yeah. So this is 2 minutes of, I think, the most succinct argument to the point that I've heard. If we act like procreation is not primary in the definition of marriage, the institution no longer makes any sense and it loses its purpose.
You said, and I'm quoting you, where procreation is in principle impossible, marriage is irrelevant. You went on to say it was irrelevant and not needed. What about marriage between people who are well beyond their childbearing age? Irrelevant, not needed?
No, it's simply a misunderstanding. The word in principle means relating to the definition of, not relating to particular circumstances. So if an apple has a worm in it, the worm is not part of the definition of the apple. It doesn't change what the apple is in principle. So the fact...
It retains its appleness.
It pertains... It retains... To act as if concepts are laughable means that you want to be irrational. Human beings reason.
You said it was irrelevant and not needed.
Human beings reason by means of concepts and definition. We also make laws by means of definitions. And if you don't know how to operate with respect for those definitions, you can't make the law. An individual who is impotent or another who is infertile does not change the definition of marriage in principle. Because between a man and a woman, in principle, procreation is always possible. And it is that possibility which gave rise to the institution of marriage in the first place. As a matter of law, as a matter of law
possible
and government.
in principle.
But when it is impossible, as between two males or two females, you're talking about something that's not just incidentally impossible, it's impossible in principle. And that means that if you say that that's a marriage, you are saying marriage can be understood in principle apart from procreation. You have changed its definition in such a way as, in fact, to destroy the necessity for the institution. Since the only reason it has existed in human societies and civilizations was to regulate, from a social point of view, the obligations and responsibilities attendant upon procreation. So when you start playing games in this way, you are actually acting as if the institution has no basis independent of your own arbitrary whim.
Bingo. Boom. Yep, 100%. I've said that for years, doing the gay marriage. I'm like, what you've done is just destroy the definition of the term. Because you changed the principles of it. And this is the same thing they do with the transgender thing. When you say, well, a man is this and a woman is this. Well, what about an intersex? It's like, well, as you said before, the exception proves the rule.
Yeah, and
you can't use that, or else you have no definition.
The confusion of that purpose is what led to my prior opinions on these things. When I believed that the purpose of marriage, it's just two people who love each other. So why not gay marriage? Why not whatever marriage variant? In fact, I don't know if I would have ever said yes, polygamy, but in my prior moral framework, where the consent of the adults in question is really the only moral question, what is wrong with that arrangement? And I'm not saying that we have to crack down on gay marriage in this country or something like that. What I'm saying is, they are morally distinct things insofar as they have a distinct organizing principle. For the traditional concept of marriage, that organizing principle is exactly what Alan Keyes is talking about, that the union of one man and one woman makes a child and there are responsibilities attached to that. If instead it's just, hey, if you love a person, great. That's how you get the confusion of treating these things as the exact same thing when they are clearly not exactly the same thing.
Yeah, well, that's why, again, I remember during the big gay marriage debate, the only way I could see it is that what they really want to do is destroy the institution of marriage, and it has nothing to do with the rights of gay people to be in a relationship with each other if they want to do that. And you can have a civil union and get all the hospital visitation or any other things that they said they were fighting for. But what they wanted was to change the definition of marriage. It wasn't about gay rights. It was about corrupting an institution.
And as soon as you make the children secondary in the calculation, I let me be very clear. I'm not saying those of you questioning my characterization and perspective are endorsing this, saying this. I don't want to be interpreted as me putting this in your mouths, because I'm not. But what I am saying is that when children are secondary in the definition, they become secondary in the practical application. In the same way, children have suddenly become pawn-like in the marriage preferences of people who get married otherwise. Oh, you want to have a gay marriage, but you still want kids, even though that's impossible in the way that Alan Keyes is describing? Not if you rope a mom into this and have some sort of arrangement where you rent her body to produce a kid, or not if you get a sperm donor from a dad they'll never, ever know. All of a sudden, because the children were secondary in the definition, the children become secondary in the lifestyle, and we have horrible consequences for that. If you listen to the rest of that Alan Keyes conversation, the funny thing about that is it's the way I keep finding that video is it's in a Reddit thread, and the name of the video on YouTube is Alan Keyes, the King of BS. Like, what a retard, Alan Keyes. We're supposed to think that it's nonsense. The other half of that 5-minute segment is Alan Keyes making an argument that gay adoption leads to incest, and that's supposed to be treated as a bizarre, kooky point. But the way he explains it is perfectly rational. He says that as soon as you've opened the door to gay adoption and you've made borrowing a parent temporarily possible, so let's say 2 lesbians get a sperm donation from a dad, that by design, the child will never know who their dad is, because there are a bunch of people doing that. If you do that in a large enough volume, all of a sudden, because people don't know who their dad is, the risk of incest is necessarily increased, because you have a bunch of men and women out there running around not knowing who their real dad is and potentially dating each other. Now, it has to be in a large volume for that to be real, but it's actually true. And I know that this is legit because I watched the documentary.
You would see Portland 20 years from now. I mean, that's highly likely.
If dads are just erased and moms are just erased and you don't even know who they are, then yes, you have that risk. But I know it's a real risk in the real world, because I've seen that documentary recently about that guy in Europe who scammed all these sperm donation organizations, and he's actually the father of like thousands of people and he violated all kinds of regulations on this. Why do we have regulations on the amount of sperm donation you can do? It's for that reason. It's so we don't have 1,000 siblings in the same town who don't even know that they're siblings. That's a problem.
Yeah. This is not Afghanistan, people.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I know it's sort of heretical in certain circles, but my perspective on a lot of this stuff comes from years I spent going down the Ayn Randian objectivist tunnel, and the objectivism is really helpful when it comes to sorting out things like this, because it's really the practice of calling things by what they really are.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I went really far with it, even to that was my perspective on religion for a long time, where I was like, angels are the things that we call angels, and God exists because we use that name and speak it into being every day, and things are everything is what it literally is. And even concepts like divorce, anyone who knows anyone who's been through it, and I know many people, it's basically a figment of your imagination. What you have now is a really shitty marriage. You still, especially if there's kids involved, you're never away from this person. You just made it terrible for everyone involved. And what you did is neglect the obligation that you had, which was to provide a stable environment. You never leave. I mean, you could, but then everything has consequences. And this idea that you can just split something and walk away and and it's not going to have detrimental downstream effects forever.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And so apply the same thing to the concept of marriage. It's like, no, it's really specifically what is the purpose. And
well, I think the horse no longer has a pulse. It is not visibly breathing, but I thank those of you who tempt me anyway.
Don't make me tap the sign.
and I have no doubt that this conversation will be returning.
I'm sure I just
future
opened
episodes.
10 more doors.
Yeah. All right. Few others, and then we'll move into Super Chat and call it a night. Spirit of Lexington. It's hilarious that AOC is trying to say to mock conservatives, considering A, how conservatives respond to mockery. Let me pull this up. I forgot. Here we go. It's hilarious that she wants her lefty friends to mock conservatives, considering A, how conservatives respond to mockery. You think of Charlie Kirk in the South Park bit or the J.D. Vance memes. And B, the tantrums that leftists throw when they are mocked. Think about the response to the sombrero memes. So last week, I don't know if you saw, Mark, but AOC...
No.
AOC had she made she was doing one of her Instagram streams, and she had said that the right wing needs to be mocked. It was in the context that she stepped in it because she made fun of short men, and all the short kings got very mad. But the point she was making was these men, by which she was referring to Stephen Miller in the White House, and Andrew Tate was brought up, and the rest of conservatives, they need to be mocked. We need to laugh in their faces because they don't deal with reason like we do. They should just be laughed at. Treat them with vicious mockery. And this is what Spirit of Lexington is responding to. And I agree in full that most people I know of
we're such a sensitive bunch, the right
Yes,
wing.
more jokes. Yeah, we're the ones who want Hitler in the chat.
Yeah.
What are you talking like we want we want the funniest, edgiest jokes you can come up with. The problem is the idea. Her call to mock them is like, yeah, let's see the meme submissions. How funny are these going to be? They're not going to be funny because comedy relies on some connection to the truth, a taboo truth, or just if a joke has no truth to it, it's not funny.
We're not the ones saying you can't say gay or retard because you'll upset the gay retards.
Yes. Yeah. We want more people called gay retards. Yes. And if AOC and her friends want to make a video response to me on the purpose of marriage, calling me a gay retard or calling me a MAGA faggot, I will appreciate that.
That's going to be I'm changing my Twitter handle. MAGA faggot.
MAGA faggot for school board. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, the whole bit, the AOC thing last week, I thought was hilarious just because if you didn't see, she said, Stephen Miller, he seems like he's 4'10". I don't know how tall he is, but he seems like he's 4'10". And then all the short men got mad at her for saying, well, what do you mean? We're good commies. We might be short, but we still serve the revolution. You don't like us? And her response was not, you know what? I'm sorry. I stand against body shaming. I shouldn't do that. It was, no, you misunderstand. I wasn't saying short is bad. I was saying Stephen Miller is just spiritually short. You know? Yeah. And so you still have to answer why is it bad in spirit?
wait for AOC to go right to like an immutable characteristic. That's cute. Yeah, I love it.
The responses were hilarious though. No, you don't understand. I'm not homophobic. He's just spiritually a faggot. Yeah. He's spiritually a faggot.
Don't be a spiritual retard.
Yeah, don't be a spiritual retard. Thank you. Don't be ableist. As long as you qualify with spiritual, you're not being bigoted in any way.
Yeah, in Minecraft.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Nate says, hey, Matt, haven't been able to check out your Bible study, so maybe this question is redundant. What do you think of the interpretations of Scripture from early Christians like the Church Fathers? Should they be given more weight than modern interpretations if they are different? Or are we on equal footing with them when it comes to understanding the Bible? Thank you. Well, I am not nearly deep enough in my own study to make confident distinctions on correct translations, interpretations. This is why I have a Bible study leader. This is why I go to church to hear from people who have studied this sort of stuff for years or decades. But if you're asking me what my gut reaction is, I wouldn't say just in terms of faith, but in terms of politics or the way I run my life these days. If there's a conflict between tradition and modernity, I am going to err on the side of tradition because for the most part, traditions exist for a reason. They've stood the test of time. Somebody just made up that modern bullshit yesterday and it hasn't really been tested. So if you asked me which one I wanted to go with, if I had to read a biblical interpretation from a church father or just a guy who wrote it yesterday, I'm not saying guy who wrote it yesterday is inherently wrong. I'm going to go with tradition if I have to make a gut level decision. You have thoughts on that, Mark?
I'm not super versed in the church fathers, but everything I have heard is pretty based, and I'm almost certain that we are de-evolving as a species, and the further back you go, the better we were. So go with the OGs, go like Thomas Aquinas. These guys, they knew what was
Is
up.
he included? I don't know what the definitive list of church fathers is.
I have no idea. I don't think he is one, but read his stuff. It's good.
Captain Risberry, would you admit that ICE has at least done some things wrong in carrying out mass deportations? I support strong borders, but it seems messed up that they have done stuff lately, including kidnapping an autistic boy and tackling a 15-year-old girl. I would actually
fake news.
I don't. Do you know the specifics on those? I don't.
I never heard about the autistic boy, but I'm gonna, if he was illegal, then he should be. Kidnapping is just the fact that you said kidnapping makes me discredit your opinion right off the bat. But if he is illegal, he should be deported, and his parents should be imprisoned for leaving him alone to be deported. And the other was like a year-old story of a 25-year-old arrested by municipal cops.
Okay.
Like it's just total.
I don't know the specifics of any of this, so I'm going to, I would just say these particular cases that you care about, I'm not even saying you're wrong in characterizing them, Captain Risberry. I don't know. But I would say if you have concern about any particular case, I would just encourage reading a lot about it, because almost invariably when I hear these characterizations, I look into it and there's something exaggerated or false about it. It's often not as presented. But let's take the point at its best. I would actually first dispute the characterization of mass deportations. I don't think we've done nearly enough. In fact, we're not on any sort of historic trend here. And deportation numbers, if I'm not mistaken, are below numbers that, say, Obama did or even Clinton did. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but
I've heard that the Obama sort of bumped up his numbers by basically calling everyone who ever turned around a deportation.
Okay.
And that was how he got to that stat. So it was just kind of playing against the right. So I don't know. So you have to understand my perspective. I'm sitting up here as a Canadian crying my eyes out every day in just utter jealousy that you guys have a border and you're deporting anyone. So
we're trying.
Yeah, keep it up. And go harder. And
but let's take the point, like, okay, let's say that this is mass deport. Let's say it's inadequate numbers to deal with the problem, and there are cases that are mistakes or are legal violations in ways X, Y, and Z. Now, ICE and police forces, they're going to make mistakes. This is not me saying that we shouldn't hold them to a high standard as law enforcement agencies. We should. I'm just saying as a practical reality of policing, whether you're talking about a small town, a giant city, or removing a whole bunch of foreign invaders from your country, there are going to be mistakes. And so the identification of any individual mistake to me doesn't undo the validity of the purpose, which is removing these people who don't belong here from our country. There is a giant mess that needs to be cleaned up. There might be occasional mistakes in the cleaning up of that mess. And to the degree there are mistakes or the mess is messy, the person ultimately responsible for that, it's not a mystery, Alec Baldwin. It's the people who came here in violation of the law. They are ultimately responsible, and the people who allowed this sort of thing too, Joe Biden and company. But the responsibility for that mess rests on the people who opened the floodgates and the people who willingly crossed under legally questionable or legally void terms. So, of course, if I could snap my fingers and have ICE do a perfect job and never do anything bad to anybody who is not deserving, never make a mistake. Of course, I would like that, but because they can't, because they're human beings, it's not going to change my mind in terms of the validity of the operations that they're carrying out.
Yeah, unless I saw massive abuses,
yeah,
then maybe. But okay, one, and I haven't seen any abuses so far that are legit. So yeah, no, definitely, it's not a reason to not do the right thing because mistakes might be made. I don't know if you heard about this. They were deporting people with green cards who had celebrated Charlie Kirk's.
I did hear about that.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's like the best thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. I know, and federal law enforcement in general should be highly scrutinized. I mean,
Yeah.
In any domestic context, I want that to be the standard because police powers should belong to the states. That is our constitutional framing, and it's what works best functionally, respecting the rights of the people. However, if there's one area in which the federal government has completely legitimate policing power, it is in our dealings with foreign nationals. You can't leave this to the states. Because as soon as California says when California opens its doors to literally anybody, all of a sudden Arizona, who disagrees with that, you can't function as a country that way unless every state has its own wall. And that's not how our country was supposed to be.
Exactly. Like, unless you enjoy those checkpoints on the freeways between the states. I mean, in my opinion, again, I try to be very balanced in this because I'm a very staunch libertarian at heart. And one thing I hate is police abusing their powers and overstepping what they should do. But the other thing I hate just as much as that is people breaking the law. And so you should enable the police to do their job, which is maintain the law. And the police should be watched and scrutinized. But as soon as someone declares a sanctuary city, they should have had the National Guard sent in day one. And that's one of the legitimate things that the federal government has the authority to do and should be doing, which is the borders. It's
we're kind of entering a different phase of that now. And like a sanctuary city, insofar as you don't assist federal law enforcement, we can debate the wisdom of that. I don't think it's smart. I don't think it's good policy, but I think a state is within its rights to do that in the same way I think a state could say, we're not helping the feds enforce their stupid gun laws either. You want to do that? You come here and do it. It is an
gun laws are
enforcement.
illegal.
Well, there is a distinction there. You're right. What I'm saying is, like, just not giving resources to what is a federal responsibility to police, I don't think is a legal problem, even if it is unwise. But we're seeing something beyond that now in places like Chicago, where it is, if not actively facilitating the resistance and the obstruction, it is intentionally not policing what would otherwise be crimes in those places because they like the fact that it is obstructing federal law enforcement.
They're making the law political.
Yeah, it's not the same as the Chicago mayor deploying his police force to stop ICE, which would be the ultimate.
Did he threaten to arrest them?
If they tried, I mean, that would be. I don't know if they've threatened to arrest ICE. I know Trump wanted the mayor and the governor arrested, but I don't think they've said they're going to arrest ICE. If they did, that would be. I mean, that's like open rebellion type stuff.
I thought I'd heard something where
maybe they did. I don't know
as well. Yeah, because they said that it's going both ways. They were like, "Well, ICE is breaking the law, and we're going to arrest them if they step into our jurisdiction." I mean, this is the Fort Sumter shit.
The stuff in Chicago is towing that line of obstruction. I mean, I think they're over the line to the point that they're effectively deploying their brown shirts to cause chaos, while they can plausibly say, "It wasn't us. What do you want?"
Yeah, I mean that's what Antifa has been for.
Yeah.
A long time, and that's what they've been doing, and they should all be in prison for obstruction the second you protest ICE.
Well, Antifa,
not protest, but the second you step beyond the line, right? Antifa doesn't exist.
It's not. It's just an idea. You can't. How are you supposed to imprison an idea?
That's like saying the Protestant church doesn't exist.
I noticed they have
not
a flag.
Organized, right? Like there's no, especially for someone who said they grew up in like the non-denominational evangelical, that they don't exist then. Right.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens in the Portlands and Chicagos. It's getting entertaining at best, but highly consequential for our country at worst. Anyway, be humble. Last one here. Listening to the Sunday show, I feel like my question from a few weeks ago must not have come across the way I meant it to. I was talking about how I want to live in a society where people respect each other's rights to disagreement, but there seems to be one side that has no respect for anyone who even considers my opinions to be valid. I'm not advocating that we sin by breaking God's laws, such as murder and the like. Rather, when I say rules, quote unquote rules, I mean the rules of decorum and charitability that only the right seems to abide by. Okay, I think I remember this question. It was about how can we pretend that there even are rules when one side doesn't obey them? And I think that was the counterpoint that I made was there are rules and we do have to recognize them. They're above us and before us. But I take your point that when your opposition does not recognize them, there are very difficult moral challenges to overcome. Anyway, he continues, I think it's time to demand that we define what the binding principles of our country are and decisively act to decisively act to ensure that those who refuse to agree to those principles are no longer considered a part of this country. I do not believe it was every founder's vision that we have universal suffrage and citizenship to the extent that we do now. And I think we ought to make people prove their allegiance to the United States and its values before granting them the privileges of either. I don't care if your great-grandfather or your great-great-grandparents were on the Mayflower. If you openly hate America, your citizenship should be revoked, and American patriots ought to show no respect to your opinion on this country, nor your so-called right to those opinions.
Hey, if you don't like America, then you can get out.
Now, I agree that our country does not share a base set of values, and really no country can survive that. If you don't agree on some of the constitutional Federalist Papers type stuff that we were talking about earlier, if you don't agree on the principle, say, I don't think it's right to kill a man because of what he believes. It's really hard to get along that way. So I actually think the best solution is one that we've been talking about on this stream and all the variants of it for a very long time. I hope it's not pie in the sky, even though I know it is. But the sort of voluntary separation that you're talking about seems perfectly sensible to me. Hey, prospective citizen, do you agree with the general framing of the Constitution, base level things like objective morality, that right and wrong exist above you and before you? They're not defined by human whim. We would all prefer not to do that separation by force. Like, we point a gun at you and we say, agree or else. But if we can separate by whether we agree with these base principles or not, we'll be over here in sort of Constitution 2 land, and you can live over there in your nonsense world. Now, that's the best solution that I think respects the rights of everybody and stays consistent with the moral truth that you're talking about. But the problem is that assumes that the nonsense people in the other country, the revolution country, that they operate that way, that they don't operate by force. They do. For them, it is agree with us or we point a gun at you. We've watched that actually play out in the last month and change. So this is one of the great moral dilemmas. And I think that the founding of our country was a perfect exercise in how that was done, which is to say, hey, you've been abusing us in ways X, Y, and Z. In that case, it was against the English crown. In this case, it might be, I don't know, the political left, DC in general, however you want to frame it. But you have been violating our rights in ways X, Y, and Z. We are going to separate from you through a Declaration of Independence. And if you have problems with that, well, you come, point your guns at us, and we'll see what happens. That's exactly how this country was founded. And I think if it is to sustain, that is a perfectly morally justified way to handle the future. So, I don't know.
Yeah,
you think that's
split off and create another Canada?
Yeah, we joined forces
that's
with.
That's what we were. I mean, we were the ones who were like, nah, we kind of like the abuse. We'll stay loyal to the crown.
It's part of the Canadian spirit.
It's our heritage.
Yeah.
Be proud of it. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for your question. Be humble, and thanks to all the emailers and voicemail guy and our callers and all that. As a reminder, if you'd like to participate in the show through email or voicemail, head on over to the contact page of my website, mattchristiansenmedia.com/contact, and that's the way that you handle it. All right, Mark, any thoughts before we get into Super Chat?
No, go for it.
Okay, well, thank you for your patience over on Super Chat, guys. Appreciate you. I know it's been the whole show. Jack says, day 2 of super chatting until I find a Zoomer wife. Godspeed, sir. I will not stop giving you money until I succeed. I would appreciate another shout out of the address I set up for her to reach me, even though it might be against your own financial incentives. I can't allow you to find a woman. You'll stop super chatting me, Jack. You have to remain single forever. I'd have to go back. I think I can go back here and find the address that you sent. I believe, yeah. If you're a eligible young woman out there who understands the proper purpose of marriage and the organizing principle of it, I hear Jack likes that. Jack at lookingforawife.xyz. I'm pretty sure that's legit. I don't think this is a bit from Jack. I think that's a real thing. So, Jack, I tell you what, man, like I said, I'm going to try to revamp some of these social connection points through this stream, going into the end of the year here, and hopefully by January 1st, I'll have something to roll out so that people who listen to this show and want to find friends, spouses even, that they're able to do that more efficiently than the super chat thing. Though, of course, to your point, I appreciate your support for the show. I'm not going to fight you if you want a super chat for it. But I'll try to make that a little more accommodating for you. And Godspeed, sir. Looking for, let me get that one more time for the prospective ladies out there. Jack at lookingforawife.xyz. All right. Tortuga. Sorry, do you have a thought on that?
Yeah, no, just actually on the previous thing, before we jumped into these, we should do, I'm all for doing a great sorting. Because we have Canada, which is like where half of America really wants to be. We're socialist, open borders, all the dream stuff.
Yeah.
And then you've got half of the Canadian population that are trapped up here that would love rights and guns.
I think Alberta and Montana are probably natural siblings. They seem like basically the same place to me.
Like literally we could solve all the problems in both these countries. Just do like a 1 month amnesty. Everybody that wants to move south and be in a constitutional republic can do that. And all the lefty tards who want to live in a communist utopia can move here.
Bingo.
And then we'll all be good.
I'll allow it.
Maybe we've solved both of our country's problems.
Super easy.
Anyway.
Then build a wall.
Your prime minister's probably not going to agree to it, so we'll have to exercise some orange man authority to get it done, but maybe.
It could be done.
Long Dong John. Oh, Tortuga, I forgot. We can't talk about silly names without going back to one of the originals. Dick Buttkiss made me giggle every time I heard about it growing up. I know my dad talks about him too, because my dad, was a Vikings fan back in that era. And, he's since had his soul defeated by all their crushing losses. But back when my dad paid more attention to football, that was the Dick Buttkiss era. And have you ever heard that name before?
I have, yeah.
Okay. He's in the
Twice.
Hall of Fame. Hall of Famer. Dick Buttkiss. Yeah.
Beauty.
Long Dong John, well, when is Frank going to be on for a whole show? Also, make sure Joshy is on for Halloween so we can see his best Jacko watermelon. I haven't decided who's on. I think, so I have committed to a costume. I'm not going to announce what it is yet. But I'm going to do it, even though the last stream before Halloween will be a Wednesday, I think sort of honor the tradition. I'm going to do costume on the Sunday before. But I haven't decided who's going to be on that Sunday. Do you guys do Halloween in Canada, Mark?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you have the desire to appear on the internet in costume, you send me a message. But I think Joshy would be a great pick, because I bet he could do something.
And now I have no choice but to show up in a watermelon.
just to even it out. We're not racist around here. We also have a white Canadian doing a watermelon bit.
There you go.
Yeah, if Joshy wants to do something funny, we could get that going. Smashing random keys. A Give Send Go was started for them. I don't know if they did it themselves or not. I wonder. I don't have the context here. Who were we talking about previously? Give Send Go for the Republican chat people?
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Nice. I don't know who the Give Send Go is for.
That's the only group of victim type people.
Let's see. Let's say Young Republican. Let's see if I can find it. Young Republicans Give Send Go. I just can't think of anybody else we talked about tonight.
The MAGA faggot.
Yeah, maybe she's victimized. The woman. I don't know who else was theoretically victimized here. Who would? I'm sorry, Smashing Random Keys. I just don't know. Joshy boy. Mark, it's totally fine to call out those black chicks who can't change the damn batteries when they're with their smoke detectors. I promise you.
I said nothing.
What's Alec Baldwin's excuse though? And the thing about listening to Alan Keyes talk there, I'm not saying that there's nobody like him left. I'm going to sound like Joe Biden talking about Barack Obama. Well, he's articulate and he smells nice and he seems to shower, so I appreciate that. I'm just saying that that level of articulate presentation seems to have decayed in black culture. You know what I mean? Instead of that guy, Alan Keyes making an incredibly articulate argument, whether you agree with it or not, is absolutely different in presentation from Jasmine Crockett or who's the super mayor, Tiffany Henyard. Y'all black. Y'all are black. There's something has changed culturally
something. It's degraded. I mean, now we got like Glenn Laurie, and that's it. Coleman Hughes.
Coleman Hughes, yeah. Joshy Boy. Don't forget Joshy Boy.
And Joshy Boy.
Speaking of, I don't know. I could talk about that with like what has changed here, because how did we get from Alan Keyes to the
started validating Ebonics?
Jasmine Crockett became more ghetto by going to Washington.
Right.
She didn't talk that way
true.
before
Right.
she got there.
Yeah, she like private school and
yes, she talked like Alan Keyes and then became what she is now by being in DC. What does that tell you? Anyway,
their audience. Democracy is awesome.
I guess so. Over on Rumble, Ramsey, they won't denounce calls for violence, but we're supposed to care about off-color jokes. I don't care. Their boos mean nothing. I've seen what makes them cheer. Yeah.
Boo.
Yeah.
I agree. Like, to take their perspective as strongly as I can, it's okay. I'm still going to call you a giant pussy. But if you don't like slurs, you don't like name calling, you think it's unprofessional, and this is in the context of what is an ostensibly professional organization, it's okay to dislike what was in that chat. I'm not saying you can't hold that opinion, but it is incoherent to find that to be morally unacceptable, but say nothing about the guy who actually wants his opposition's children dead. There is no standard by which that makes any sense.
Yeah, because they have no standards.
Yeah, it's all weaponization. And then you hear the reporter who put that out there. It's, we got this guy fired and that guy fired, so it's a really consequential report. Do you measure the value of your report by the truth it reveals? Against powerful people is usually the target, by the way.
The amount of young, I don't know if they're children, but the amount of young adults that you manage to
supposedly young. Well, I guess some of them are kind of.
Are.
But yeah, is that it is a strange admission there too that the value of the reporting is the consequence it has rather than the truth it reveals. Oh, I got them fired. Look at all the heads rolling. That's not. Is that why you got into journalism? Is that, speaking of the defining feature and the purpose of things, is that the purpose of journalism, getting people fired? Huh.
Yeah, it's almost like all they care about is power and the friend-enemy distinction.
Yes. Yeah. Laughing boy. The purpose of marriage is to build a family in the eyes of the church. Growing a family requires having children. You still have a family if it's just two people, if you can't have kids. Now, that's an interesting way to reconcile this, and that's probably a point I should have made in the context of the emailers. I actually view a lot of these scripture-focused points as more or less the same thing phrased in a different way. That is to say, when I say, yes, I agree that God blesses this union. Yes, I agree that it emulates Christ and the church. The question is why? What feature does it have that puts it into this special regard? I shouldn't even give the impression that these are points of disagreement, because I think it's merely a way of describing or being more specific about what we're talking about. So I take your point that if I could be more specific in that the production of children means production means production properly, there's maybe a little bit more specific in terms of the scriptural reference. It's building a family in the eyes of the church, or in the eyes of God, or in the design of God. And I think you're exactly right. I don't have a single point of dispute on that characterization. Yeah. Well said.
Yeah.
You did it, laughing boy.
There you go.
There will be no more there will be no more emails that tempt me to tap the sign.
Don't make me tap the sign.
Thank you. I don't ever have to press that button again. All right. Anything else you want to say before we're out of here, my friend?
I think I got them all in.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks to everybody for your live participation tonight. Thanks to our live chatters, our super chatters, for making the live show a success. If you're listening on demand later, thank you kindly as well for supporting the show. Thanks to Frank, quitefrankly.tv, for all things Quite Frankly. Thanks to Mark Aaron for sitting in at Liberty M. Aaron on X. Thanks to producer Tim for his assistance, as always. Find everything show related at mattchristiansenmedia.com or mattis.k. I'll see you on Sunday. Have a great week.